Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of A Chat with Spook. And here I got with me jdmagic.
Hello.
And JD, he's quit the game. How long have you quit the game again, JD?
I want to say about 3 months.
Alright,
Yeah, that sounds about right. Around June.
okay. So, you've missed out on Ender Slayers, I'm guessing.
I have, yep. I logged on briefly to try them out and then immediately left.
So, what do you think of the game so far? Like, the state of it right now?
I'm not sure. I think I would say that the game is a lot of grind, which is something I think everybody has noticed. And a lot of people are okay with, but I think I just realized it wasn't really the kind of game I wanted to keep spending time on and not really noticing any rewards to doing so.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can kind of see that. And, has anything ever grabbed you to come back on to the game ever since you quit? You mentioned Ender Slayers, but you've only like tried them out for a little bit. Like, has anything
Yeah,
really grabbed you though?
not really, no. I mean, I've been keeping up with updates. Crystal Hollows came out and I didn't even consider logging on.
What would you say about Skyblock you liked back when you played it?
I think I was drawn to the game. I don't know, I saw a new game on Hypixel, I logged on, I tried it out. It was fun while it lasted, I would say. I really did like some of the communities that I found, even though other communities on the game might not be nearly as good. It was kind of just fun to just kill time, but after a while, I guess I just realized that it wasn't worth my time anymore. I wasn't loving it anymore.
Right. And what was like your favorite moment when you were playing Skyblock?
I still very vividly remember the first time I dropped a Necron handle. I think that is probably the moment for me.
Do you remember what time you dropped it? Was it like back when Floor 7 was new? Was it later on in that floor?
It was definitely later on. I could tell you an exact date if you cared.
Yeah, sure.
But, okay, hold on a moment. I think I dropped 2 within about a month of each other. My first one was maybe 50 runs in. Hold on a second. Yeah, it looks like about 7 months ago, so what is that? January, maybe? February? I want to say it was my 62nd run.
No, that's pretty lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think the drop rate for Necron handles actually changed, or do you think that's just confirmation bias from just being lucky?
Yeah, I would say it's just confirmation bias. I think I dropped my second one at around the 150, maybe closer to 200. And then I did another 500 runs or so and just didn't get one. I don't think the rates changed. I think my luck was just skewed towards the beginning, and then I had an unrealistic expectation for the type of RNG that I would generally get. And then that disappointed me even more when I went so many runs without getting one. Even though I'm on average, averagely lucky.
Yeah. So, what was like the moment you like woke up, you were like, you know what, I don't want to play Skyblock anymore?
I think I just tried and played another game. I don't remember what game it was. I want to say it was GTA 5. But my friends were like, hey, let's play GTA 5 for a while. I was like, okay. So I just logged onto that game, and then we kept playing over the next couple of days, and it only took me about 2 weeks for me to realize, like, of playing Skyblock West, that it just wasn't a game that I liked as much as I thought I did.
What was a moment in the game you really hated? What, when you were playing, do you remember any situations you were like really upset about?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Fair enough.
If I think of something, I'll let you know, but I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. Have you ever lost anything to a bug or a glitch?
Not quite a. I don't think so. And if it was something relatively minor. But I've had numerous friends lose lots of things with admins just, not caring. A very close friend of mine sold his 100 mil Midas staff to the trade menu just because he thought it'd be funny, and then it said that he couldn't buy it back. So that was unfortunate. Another one of my friends lost like 40 mil to a bank glitch. She just took money out and it was gone. They definitely don't increase my. They definitely don't make my outlook on Skyblock any better.
I think the worst that's happened to me, and I'm probably pretty lucky in that regard, is I bought wither leggings from an F7 run back when F7 was relatively new, because it was profit at the time. It was like 500k,
Right.
1 mil profit. And the wither leggings, people were underbidding, so I took them off, and I was planning on putting them back on, but then the lobby crashed, and I lost the leggings, and
Wow.
the auction was gone. That was probably the worst that's happened to me, though.
I've had a lot of similar things to that happen, but nothing huge. Nothing anywhere near what my friends have experienced.
Yeah. A lobby crash actually benefited me, quote unquote, one time. So I was doing dark auctions, like working towards seal. I haven't actually gotten any yet, but I'm still working towards it. And I bought him a bunch of Midas swords. Back then they were profit or like decent because 50 mil Midas was, the best weapon at the time. And I bought 3 of them, and I was planning on auctioning them. So I did that, but the lobby crashed. So I got the 3 Midas swords back, even though I already had the 3 auctions up.
Huh.
I didn't really want to risk it, like selling them, so I voided them as soon as I found out that happened. But yeah, if I did sell them, I would have been profiting 150 mil there, at the very minimum.
I was one of the people that invested in a max gilded Midas sword right around the time that was like the new coolest thing. And I think I paid about 150 mil for it, and then like a month later it was worth maybe 15 mil. No one cared.
Actually, it costs a little bit more now. Not that much, but people definitely like.
I sold mine for around 50. It was max enchants at the time.
Yeah. I think I sold mine before people realized that the Shadow Fury was a lot better. This was back when people were obsessing over the Livid Dagger, sure, but people were like, you know what, they're gonna nerf the Livid Dagger, so who cares?
Yeah, I was in that
and
boat.
they were still buying the Midas swords, is my point.
I bought the Midas right before they added the Livid, and then I didn't jump then, even though I should have.
So I sold the Midas swords. And I invested in Shadow Fury, actually, not the Livid Dagger. Shadow Fury was also selling for a decent amount, but it was not as popular as the Livid Dagger. But the Shadow Fury then turned out to be like the best weapon in terms of raw damage, at least until the Giant Sword came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty lucky on my part. I think I also got kind of lucky with selling Bonerangs. Back when Bonerangs got killed off, I immediately sold them. And I sold them for 3 mil under what other people were trying to quick sell them for. And somehow they sold. Somehow somebody actually bought them so quickly because they saw, whoa, it was 3 mil cheaper than the other pin? I can flip that, probably.
Yeah.
And I technically lost 16 mil because I spent that much more on buying the bones, but I would have lost a lot more if I sold it
Relative
later.
to, yeah, if you would have waited another hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you say that there's an update that you would be willing to jump back on Skyblock if it ever released?
I want to say Master Floor 7, but I realized that I wouldn't have any gear to actually do it. So,
Yeah, I
probably
think
not that.
most people who would do that are probably gonna be like kind of 48s at minimum, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see myself coming back at the current time. It could happen, like, possibly next summer, when I just have, like, you know, a lot of time to kill, but definitely not now that I'm starting school again.
Yeah. What was your least favorite skill to grind? And your most favorite, I should
Least
add.
okay, yeah, that's a good question. My least favorite skill to level up probably is fishing because it's just so slow. But I don't actually mind fishing in itself. Like I had quite a bit of fun just fishing with friends. Least favorite skill in terms of the way it's designed is probably enchanting before they redid it. I don't know if that counts because
Oh,
you know
yeah.
that's
But
that
now,
was
though.
that was not fun. Now it's fine.
No, I mean, now
Um,
what is it now? Like, well, like enchanting back when it was before the rework, but now what's
probably foraging by far.
forging? Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree with you on that.
Yeah, because mining is just mostly minions. Farming you can do with minions if you want. Combat you just get over time. Alchemy and enchanting are easy, so it's definitely foraging.
Yeah. I should add that my favorite skill is actually combat. Definitely was a lot more my favorite back when revs was like the best way to do it, because you could shred revs tier 4s back then. And I liked increasing my Slayer XP, even if I was
I've never
physically
actually grinded
killing.
my combat.
Uh,
I mean, I'm only combat 50, so you know,
but
I
yeah,
just got it every time.
I really enjoyed doing tier 4 revs, even if I was basically burning money doing them.
Yeah, pro revs used to be a very fun thing to do. I think a lot of that is because of the fact that you're spending money. I think just somehow makes it more fun.
I think it was more the fact that, you know, I was killing this big boss repetitively. Like, killing stuff
Super fast as
in-game
well.
has a satisfying feel, you know?
Killing it in a few hits is definitely satisfying, yeah.
Tier 5 revs are not as fun, although I can definitely see the novelty in them. Back when
I enjoyed it when sword swapping was still in the game.
Sword Swapping was there, you could one-shot the boss, and people liked that, like the chaining of like one-shots, like during Techno's Mayor, and to a certain extent, maybe during other Derpy. But I didn't really enjoy chaining killing it because, you know, there wasn't like the hunt for the boss, like killing the zombies on the way.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed sword swapping being in the game, but I don't think it has any place in the game. I'm glad that it's gone.
Yeah.
In general.
What would you say is your favorite item?
Maybe I don't know. I think the Hyperion pre-nerf was very nice, very rewarding. It was like the very end game item everybody wanted, and it was super fun to use. It's still good post nerf. I don't think the 6 box is that much worse. It's probably that. I think I haven't used a Juju Short Bow or a Terminator, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem nearly as fun as using a hype in dungeons. I'm also very glad they added the Builder's Wand and Black Dapper, and I don't know why it took them so long to do so, but
I would say the block zapper is actually
I'm
pretty
glad
awesome
they're
now. They made it
Yeah,
so
now that it has the, I know. I was trying to build my farm.
like I literally can't actually use it. Like sure,
You
I
can use it
could
for like
use
10
it.
seconds and then it's like, sorry.
Like I would have to use it over the chunk of like 20, 50 times to actually fix my farms. But yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Another thing I'd like to note is that the Jujubee is kind of fun if you use it in conjunction with the Hyperion. What I do, sometimes in solo runs, just to learn secrets or practice them, you know, and get routes, is I use a mage LCM setup, but as an archer. So I'd be using the Jujubee against mini bosses, and I'd be actually clearing with the Hyperion, and like alternating. And it's a pretty satisfying like feel to be able to like switch between them based on the situation and how you want to like clear the room.
Yeah, I can see the value of it as sort of a secondary weapon, but I don't really love the idea of that being a meta, like a Terminator meta.
Yeah, they definitely kind of went overboard with the Terminator.
Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense because it's ridiculously expensive.
Like,
so,
it's needed for master mode and all, and I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
I think expensive items should be good. Like, I think diminishing return should be avoided, I think.
But the issue is, it kind of pigeonholes Archer as like the one endgame class. I think what the admins were intending is that only one person actually buys a Terminator, and the rest of the team uses their own weapons to like support that Archer, who is the main DPS. But the problem is, the Terminator is still good with other classes. When that happens,
yeah, everyone's just kind of
And especially with Berserker, who gets his bonus regardless of what weapon he uses, which is kind of broken.
Every class definitely needs to have like its own extremely good weapon. Mage had hype before they nerfed it. I think if there was a way for them to make hype more expensive, or really an idea is like a reforged stone maybe for the Hyperion that is really rare, costs like 500 mil or something, and increases the range to 10 blocks, and maybe increases the damage or something.
I think
then you could have a mage weapon that is like similar to Terminator in strength.
I think the better thing would be to rework the Ember Rod. Now hear me out. The Blazing Fortress update, according to them, is gonna be the next endgame area. Like, it's gonna be harder than the end, according to them.
They have said that, yeah.
So, and the Ember Rod doesn't drop anymore. So what I think they could do is rework the Ember Rod into an endgame weapon that you can get from fighting a really difficult magma boss when that update comes out. And maybe reduce its cooldown substantially, obviously. And, you know, have it do a lot more damage. And you could have a really good endgame mage weapon on your hand. And the other thing they could do is add a new Slayer type for the new Blazing Fortress. And have a Berserker weapon be at the end of that.
Okay, so I have to ask, are you hoarding a double chest of Ember Rods and hope that it...
I don't actually have any. I used to have an Ember Rod way back when, but I sold it back when it was like 100k because I didn't...
I've had one just kind of sitting on my wall ever since way before they stopped it from dropping. Like, I
doubt the admins are actually going to do that though. I think the admins will just add new items and just...
I think reworking extremely old items that have been basically removed from the game is probably not the best call, because then all of a sudden you give high value to these old items, and obviously they can still be got from a new boss. But like, what about the people who quit years ago and they just have an Ember Rod?
I think what they would probably do is actually rework the Magma boss, but have it drop different things. Because, I mean, having an early game boss in an end game area doesn't kind of fit. Like, either they would move the Magma boss, remove it entirely, or, like, rework it. And I think it's gonna be an end game boss fight. Either that, or they're gonna remove it entirely. And I think they might take the lazy route and remove it. but I think they should rework it. And whether they should add back the Ember Rod as a better weapon or not, I don't think they're gonna do, even if they do bring back the Magma Boss. But it'd be kind of a cool thing to see.
I think it almost makes sense to have two separate areas of the Blazing Fortress. One that is more similar in difficulty to the current one, and one that is much more difficult. And then, if they were going to do that, they could keep the Magma Boss where it currently is, and maybe add Ember Rod back. But I don't know. It doesn't really make sense for me to speculate on an update for a game I barely play.
I think what they might do is just add a new area to the Blazing Fortress, like they did with the End Island, where that area is like the new endgame area, and the rest of the Blazing Fortress is the same. Which would be the lazy one,
that makes sense to me. It kind of is, but I don't know. If you ask me, I think it makes more sense.
They could rework the island and like rebuild it, but have an early game area at the beginning and an end game area later on. And that'd be the more cool thing, and the more balanced thing, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm running out of questions here. Do you have any notes you want to add before we end the podcast?
Not in particular. I think maybe my one complaint that I haven't really mentioned about the game, and was mentioned earlier, is the admins just not really caring about the individual player at all. Really, I don't like the idea of. I mean, their game is overrun with bugs, which isn't entirely their fault because, you know, Minecraft as a platform is just not really the best thing. But I play any other game, and if I lose something to a bug, it's like, oh, sorry, we'll reimburse you all your stuff, and, you know, give you this to help you, and then you go play Skyblock, and if you benefit from a bug at all, you're immediately punished, and if you lose money to a bug, they're just like, oh, sorry, we can't help you. And that just really is not the type of experience I want to have to deal with when I play a game.
I think the big thing here is to rework the item ID system in Skyblock to allow them to give back items without overworking the admin team. Because the problem is they don't have like the same systems AAA developers have, where they can just help every player. They help YouTubers because they're a much smaller community and they can like tend to them more.
Right.
And they help edge cases where like a really rich player every once in a while, because, you know, there's not that many of those players that are legit, at least.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not even worried about the fact that they help YouTubers and not the average player. I just think they should put those systems in place so that they can help the average player.
Like, there's already something they can do. It's the fact that legendary items have their own item IDs. They could use that as a way to see, hey, wait a minute, this item ID is gone from this player and it's nowhere else on the auction house or the bazaar or whatever. So maybe this item got deleted from the game due to a bug, so this player could be getting his item back. Mm-hmm. You know, stuff like that. And now that the dropping system doesn't give drops to other players,
right, I forgot about that change.
Dropping isn't a concern anymore. You can't like say, hey, the player could have just dropped the item to somebody else. No, because the only other players that can be picking it up are co-op members, and those players can just be checked alongside the player for that item.
I guess the concern there is, oh, they threw it in the lava, but like, I mean, who cares?
I mean, if they throw it in the lava, that's still the item being gone. Like, that's still something to be given back.
Honestly, you're not wrong, yeah.
So they could add that system for legendary items, at least for now. I know that they can't really do it for other items because they're stackable sometimes. But I'd consider adding a trace log for when you buy a dungeon chest or when you cancel an auction or something like that. So that so that they would catch stuff. And now that dropping is not a thing anymore, they can definitely use the item IDs for legendary items to give stuff back. Because they can't because the only way to get rid of a legendary item is to either delete it from the game by throwing it in the void or something, which obviously doesn't give it to somebody else, or to auction it, which they can trace, or to bazaar it, which they can trace. You can't drop it to other players anymore, and trading can be traced, and that's why dropping got removed, is because IRL traders would just drop items instead of trading them, and trading would get...
that very well.
So trades also get traced here, so they have all the means to give items back, at least legendary items, and obviously mythics by conjunction, because mythic items are also ID'd technically, because they're a step higher than legendary. But yeah, thank you for coming on. It was it was a pleasure, and
no problem.
And take care.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And see you guys later in the next podcast, where I'll be interviewing a mid-game player who is currently playing the game. A bit of a change, but yeah.